He is our friend, and he's also the ABC News critic and entertainment correspondent. Good morning, David Blaustein.
Good morning, McGraw. How are you?
We're great. Let's get right to it. Looks like I really want to like this Ben Affleck movie. Please tell me it's good.
Well, there are a lot of critics who don't think it's good, McGraw. But as you know, I am not a lot of critics. I'm just one critic.
You are of all the critics out there, you are one of them.
I am just one of them.
Yes.
And I am just one who actually likes this movie.
Good.
Now, it is absolutely positively contrived.
Okay.
and on some level, a little ridiculous. But I also found it to be terribly entertaining. I am a fan of Ben Affleck. I have pretty much always been a fan of Ben Affleck, and somewhere his career took a wrong turn and people started to revolt against Ben Affleck. And then he made Argo, and he directed Argo, and people, just started to love Ben Affleck again, even though he had done some good work before that. A lot of people thought that he, I guess, was dissed because he didn't get nominated for an Oscar for that movie, and the movie went on to win Best Picture, and it's rare for a movie to win Best Picture and not have the director win Best Director. I think that is the first time in history maybe that a movie won Best Picture and the director wasn't even nominated, which was super weird. So I call it a Benaissance because I think...
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much. Because I think that he has done some good work acting. I even think he's a good Batman, but I think he's even better as the accountant. The accountant is this character named Christian, and he has a form of high functioning autism, and he also isn't just an accountant. He's also kind of an assassin. He can kill people by auditing them to death. That's not true. He can kill people. He's very good with guns, and he's very good with his hands. Now, how does that happen? Well, when he was a child, and we see this through flashbacks, his mother was very upset. She didn't know how to handle him, so they wanted to put him in a special home for autistic kids. The father, who was military, did not want that. He wanted his son to be able to deal with the real world. He didn't think he should be in environments that coddle him. So what does a military father in that situation do to prepare his son for the real world? He hires people to beat him up. Essentially, he hires people to beat him and his other son up, and they both wind up being very tough people when they get older. You throw in Anna Kendrick, who also plays an accountant for the firm that hires Ben Affleck to find out why their books are leaking, or at least to figure out a discrepancy, and she adds a comedic layer to this movie that I also thought was very entertaining. So in other words, like I said, I like this movie. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely a little bit more for the male demographic than the female demographic, but I think that people will like this movie.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I've always liked Ben Affleck, and I don't know why, and I don't know why people have turned on him, but I think his body of work, I mean, everybody makes a clunker now and then, but I think he's made great movies and made great choices. So I agree with you. All right, let me ask you about Billy Bush while I still have you here. What do you think of the whole Billy Bush thing? I think he's sort of an innocent bystander in all this. You're a critic.
Billy Bush is an innocent bystander?
Well, kind of. I mean, all right. Well, what's the thought process? What's the national reaction to Billy Bush and all this?
The national reaction is, I think some people don't really care. Yeah, it's interesting. I was at a dinner the other night, a breakfast, if you will, for the Yom Kippur holiday.
Uh-huh.
And there were a couple of women, very smart women, who felt bad for Billy Bush. But it turned out that they hadn't seen the entire video. So I started explaining to them exactly what was said. All they knew about was the one particular Trump quote about grabbing a certain part of a woman's body. That's all they knew.
Right.
But then I went on to tell them how Billy was rooting him on,
right.
How he was talking about how Donald Trump was talking about Billy Bush's coworker, and instead of protecting her or defending her, he was fanning the flames, and then talking about that particular actress and talking about what she looked like, and then how weird it was as soon as they got off the bus that Billy Bush then procured a hug between Donald Trump and that woman he was just talking about. Billy Bush is not innocent in this, and Billy Bush is definitely, I mean, while he hasn't officially been fired, there's no way, I don't think he's coming back to NBC. Well, what I would do is I would love to do a podcast with Billy Bush called The Locker Room. I think that would be great.
Is he going to be on Dancing with the Stars?
Well, that's a very good question. There are rumors that Dancing with the Stars is trying to get him on the show. We've seen that many, many times. We've seen quite a few people who got some bad publicity who then went on Dancing with the Stars to try to help turn that around. We're seeing that right now with Ryan Lochte. Not only did Ryan Lochte have the bad publicity, but he had those people protest live in the studio,
right,
which is pretty crazy. Will that help Billy Bush? I don't know. I think that he's going to have some problems. I don't know if anybody's going to hire him for a long time. I think eventually he'll come back. You know, he's been sort of part of the zeitgeist in a roundabout way for quite some time. So I do think that at some point he'll get hired. I just don't think anytime soon. And he'll never be on the Today Show. And ABC certainly, I don't think ABC is ever going to put him on Good Morning America, but it'll be interesting if he winds up on Dancing with the Stars. That could definitely help him.
Okay, who does a better Donald Trump? Alec Baldwin or Donald Trump doing Alec Baldwin doing Donald Trump?
That's a really, really tough one. I would probably go with Alec Baldwin doing Donald Trump than Donald Trump doing Alec Baldwin doing Donald Trump.
Okay.
I feel like this is like color analysis from John Madden. I feel like I just said something that John Madden would have said, right?
All right, David Blaustein. Oh, yeah. Did you want to chime in more? Do you have more material on that?
No, I really don't. I think Alec Baldwin's been absolutely amazing. And for me, I think, you know Brian Stelter from CNN?
Yes.
All right, the day that they announced Alec Baldwin as the guy who's going to impersonate Donald Trump, I was actually listening to CNN on the way into work. And Brian Stelter, they had not announced Alec Baldwin yet, but Brian Stelter was talking about what Saturday Night Live would be able to do. And yeah, I'm a huge Daryl Hammond fan, and Daryl Hammond was the guy who was doing Donald Trump. My wife and I, we saw Daryl Hammond probably about a month and a half ago do stand-up, and it was surprisingly, it was one of the funniest stand-up routines I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen a lot of stand-up, and I've seen the best. He was great. But his impersonation of Donald Trump was very, very average. It was a good impersonation, and there was nothing special about it. And that's what Brian Stelter was talking about, how good it was. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Daryl Hammond does a good impersonation of Donald Trump, but I do not see Daryl Hammond's impersonation of Donald Trump having the same effect that Tina Fey's impersonation of Sarah Palin had. And I said, I think this is not going to be great for Saturday Night Live. I think it's going to be okay. I'm like, they need to find somebody else who can do an amazing impersonation of Donald Trump. And I couldn't think of anybody. And coincidentally, later that day, NBC announced Alec Baldwin. And I'm like, oh, that's genius, although I've never seen Alec Baldwin do an impersonation of Donald Trump. He's great at impersonations. And by the way, that was Tina Fey's idea. Tina Fey suggested that to Lorne Michaels.
There you go.
If you knew that.
Inside info. Yeah. David Blaustein, thanks for the insight. Have a good weekend.
Take care, Matt. Bye.
8:30, Big 550, KT.